Hey folks, how we doing this afternoon? Just thinking here a moment ago about the Greek language and some of the things that goes on with the Greek language. And a lot of these things come to me and I'll just share them with you. And so I have tried to tell you before that the English language that we have been handed, folks, is dog Latin. It's dog Latin, folks. It's a language for the illiterate. Do people really know what they're saying when they say the words that they say? And this comes to my mind a whole lot because I really think that they're just they're making people even more illiterate these days, guys, than ever before. And if you don't believe that, I want you to think about this for a moment. Why? And this shows how that we loathe in our own language. Why do we park our car in a driveway? You might say, what do you mean by that, Jerry? Well, get the bigger picture right here, guys, then. Okay, well, here we go. You ready? Why do we drive on a parkway? Does that make any sense? It really doesn't from a logical standpoint. And I was just thinking today, about all this stuff about them saying that they were increasing the mental institutions in this country, which I know what the agenda is behind all that. Yeah. And they've got this new thing called the Baker Act. Yeah, we're going to Baker Act you. You're not thinking right. You're thinking outside the box. Done told you the truth, folks. There's an agenda behind that. I promise you they are. Now, I'm going to show you something that is going to surprise you. Let's look at the word mental illness in Greek. And mental illness can mean that you are mentally ill or something like that, which is not against the law to be mentally ill. From a dangerous standpoint, it would be, but if you're just mentally ill, it's not against the law. There's plenty of people mentally ill in this country, trust me. And they're not in jail. It seems like that if you think outside the box from a Christian standpoint, you need to go to an institution. That is the new thing going on now, folks. Trust me on what I'm telling you. Did you know that if you break down the word mental, I'm going to show you who's being put in the mental institutions. Men. We all know what that means. This TAL, from a Greek standpoint, means tall. The men that stand tall are ill. And really, you could look at men right there, or man, in terms of man, as a woman, too, that stands tall. I include that in that. So the men that stand tall, or the women that stand tall, they need to be put in a mental institution. What does a man that stands tall or a woman that stands tall, what does that mean? You want me to tell you? Stands tall in terms of being able to think for themselves. Stands tall in terms of being prideful in their belief in my situation in Jesus Christ. That's right, folks. So the men that are tall, or the women that are tall, they belong in an institution. Just give giving you something to think about this evening, guys. When they would send the men off to war, throughout all these wars in history, which in my opinion is just to get rid of the best, on both sides. If you don't believe that, see my video on the Jerry McFadden channel that has the 70 subscribers, that D-Day was a sacrifice unto the pharaohs. On the side of the Germans and on the side of the Allies. To get rid of the best, guys, on both sides. Not to cause any problems. I done told you guys. And if you were a woman in war and your man was sent off and he died in war and you stood up to them, you know what ended up happening to you? The women was the people running the town in the lodges. You know what I'm talking about. They would come out and say, these women are witches. Yeah. And so let's dip them in water for so many minutes, and if they die, why, then they wasn't a witch. But if they were a witch, we'll burn them at the stake. It's what happened to the women that stood tall, folks. They had fingers pointed at them, and they were considered witches, and they were burned alive at the stake. When in reality, the people running the lodges that were running the town, they were the ones worshiping the witches. They were the ones that were part of the craft. The third degree of the craft. Yeah, the craft. They were the ones that were doing it. But the women that stood tall, they were burnt alive. Yeah, considered witches. And I would say they've been a lot of very good women, stern women. Women who would not give in. Were done this way. I'm going to bring up one more thing about all this language and stuff. You guys remember WikiLeaks? And they said that was all about the Clintons and the WikiLeaks. And well, I want to tell you something, guys. That whole thing about the Clintons and the WikiLeaks, that was all a pile of CLAP. Or, excuse me, CRAP. I'm a little tired this afternoon. It's all a pile of crap is what it was. It's not what that was about. I'm telling you right now, it had nothing whatsoever to do with that at all. That was a cover-up for doing Julian Assange the way they done him. You want me to tell you why that was a cover-up? Because really the whole issue was about Wikipedia, folks. And you know what that whole issue was about? It was about the refusal of Julian Assange to change the meaning of those words in Wikipedia. He looked at it and he said, I'm not doing it. Let it stand for what it is because it's the truth. And when he stood up to them, that's why he's in jail for 100 and some years. If you want to follow the trail, people, of who is a really true martyr in Jesus Christ, you just look who's being persecuted. And I say Julian Assange is a true martyr of Christ. Because he stood up for the truth, folks, and didn't change the meanings of his Greek words and stuff in Wikipedia. Oh, it's being changed now. This has all been coming for a long time, folks. I've been seeing it for a long time. The meanings of these words is being changed. They don't want you to know what reality is, guys. I'm telling you the truth, folks. I made a video on Julian Assange on that same 70 subscriber channel. And if you go to that, you'll see what I had to say about that. And when they finally arrested him, he was screaming, the UK must resist. The UK must resist. Reason why, folks, is because he wanted you to resist, to fight for the truth. Throwed him in jail. There for the rest of his life. Just giving you some food for thought this afternoon, folks. Thank you for seeing my video.